let's go back 10 years and remind ourselves of what I think is one of the most significant achievements by a British fighter, up there with Donald Curry getting beaten by Lloyd Hannigan, which was Tyson Fury going over to Germany and beating Wladimir Klitschko. I think it opened up the landscape for a lot of other people to benefit from. Let's have a listen to Tyson Fury being as magnanimous as he always is.
Good morning, everybody. It's been a decade today, 10 years later, a full decade since I dethroned the long-reigning heavyweight champion of the world, Wladimir Klitschko. 28th of November 2015, on that night I said, today Tyson Fury goes down as a legend. That was before the fight. Never mind beating him and going on to do exactly what I did. Come on! I've been celebrating that every day, Wladimir, for 10 years. Thank you, Vlad, for making me a multi-millionaire, a very successful and a multi-time world champion. Get up there, you sucker!
10 years last Friday. I still think the piece of history that I will never lose from that is I'm going to lick that. But that's a different conversation entirely. Where do we all-time Batman comic outfit and that? Yeah. Where do we put that? I've just sort of built it up there as I think one of the best British outcomes from a fighter abroad. Where do you put it, Spence? I think it was a fabulous performance. I think Kell Brook beating Sean Porter was up there with one of those fights that doesn't get the credit that it should get. I think obviously I mentioned Lloyd Hannigan beating Donald Curry, which was never priced in. I was fortunate enough to go to that fight. This was a great performance, wasn't it?
Absolutely. You put it up there with that because of the dominance of the Klitschkos and going over to Germany, Dusseldorf, to get that victory as well. The manner that he got that victory and a point deducted in the 11th round, you think, oh my God, are they going to rob him here? Because, you know, it was a very one-sided fight. It was not a particularly great fight to watch, but a very one-sided fight. And, you know, I think the Fury done incredible in that, but you thought, will it go his way? He got the decision. But for me, with Tyson Fury, I think his best career performance was coming back after that fight.
Against Deontay Wilder.
Against Deontay, but no, I'm saying with the troubles that he had after that fight, the 3-year break that he had, coming back a couple of fights before going in with Deontay Wilder. That journey was incredible. But yeah, what a performance, and that will go down in history.
Granted. You worked that fight, Paul. When you were working it, were you backing? I mean, obviously we would be backing Fury to win because he's a British fighter. But in your mind's eye, did you think he was going to win that fight? Because I think a lot of people thought this is all-day Klitschko, didn't they?
Yeah and no. So I remember it vividly, like it was yesterday. I was in Dusseldorf. It was the November of the same year that I'd just lost to Ward. I was contemplating retiring. They asked me my opinion. And I remember standing there in the middle of Germany thinking, well, I'm going to get another little dig in here. I said, I think he'll do enough, but I don't think he'll get the decision. So it was me, Amir Khan and Carl Froch. We were the three pundits. And like, what do you think? And Amir was like, I've got to say Fury trains in my gym. I'm like, yeah, Fury's going to win. He looked great after the fight. I said, I think Fury will do really well. Possibly do enough, but I don't think he's getting the decision within Germany. Yep. And then it went to Froch and he picked Klitschko. So after, I remember vividly, after the first round, seeing how well he come out, I had, I think, 20, 30 quid on the draw in play betting. And I had a little bet on the draw while I was there. I thought, he's going to do well here. He's just not going to get the decision. But if every round's like that, it's that clear they can't rob him. But he got the decision. He did great. What a night for him. Unbelievable performance. And the rest, obviously, as they say, is history.
It was the scoring was the surprise.
Don't forget
we
the
know who won the fight, but you look at the history of German boxing and the fights that happened over there.
I'll just ask him.
That's why I was trying to get me little points in.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
It was a year later. I was thinking, like, I'm still bitter. I'm still very bitter.
Yeah. I think it's like you've just mentioned Lloyd Hannigan's performance against Donald Curry, which was sensational. That's mid-80s, yeah. So maybe I'm a little bit too young to jump all over that.
Back at him.
All right, mate.
He was
Sorry.
there.
Yeah, I know he was. That's why I bring it up. The performance against Klitschko for me, I think, just edges out his performance against Deontay in the second fight. Just because you are breaking an era in Germany against traditional scoring. His performance that night, I think, is
I'm not normally into the term, sorry to interrupt you, but the lineal champion, he was the main man.
He's absolutely
he beat the main man.
That's why I highlight the Lloyd Hannigan Donald Curry fight, because he was the number one pound-for-pound fighter on the planet when he went away and did that. But you're talking, like you said, number one, main guy, 11 years reign, nobody's been able to break it,
off him in Germany.
and he outpointed him in Dusseldorf.
Did you think it was a good thing for boxing? Because I think, to some extent, you know,
it changed the current landscape.
It changed the landscape, but I don't think that was the highest point, with all due respect to Vitaly Klitschko, who I thought was very unlucky against Lennox Lewis, and ultimately Wladimir Klitschko, it wasn't the most illuminating period of heavyweight boxing. It was dull, wasn't it?
It was horrific. It was the most boring heavyweight era, well, of recent times. Whereas what happened that night, Tyson Fury goes and wins. Immediately the IBF stick the beaks in, don't they, and take the belt off him, chucks that in the bin.
Yep.
Charles Martin picks it up. Anthony Joshua era then picks that up, and then that reign starts to kick
Exactly.
off. So that night changed the whole landscape of what we've now experienced over the last decade.
Right. Simon, I was talking to you about this last week in the year when I went to a Klitschko fight in Madison Square Garden because the press conference for mine and Andre Ward's fight was in New York. And when we went to the Klitschko, I think it was Jennings, I can't remember his first name. I'm walking I'm walking to go to the toilet in between like the 6 and 7 rounds. I fell asleep in the crowd. Yeah. So you're right in what you're saying. It wasn't the most glorious period for the Klitschkos as such, but he was still the main man, and Fury did unbelievable.
But it is absolutely right, and I make the same point. I've made it repeatedly, which Adam has made, which is the Fury win opens up a whole new generation of opportunities for other people, which other people rode into. Yeah. It brought forward AJ, it brought forward Tyson Fury, it brought in Deontay Wilder, and it brought in the back end Alexander Usyk. It's a slightly disappointing, I don't mean disappointing, but can you imagine if Turki Al-Sheikh would have been on the scene at that time when this division was opened up by Fury's win, what kind of fights we would have seen amongst these guys?
You'd have seen Fury, AJ. You'd have definitely seen it.
They would have all boxed each other twice, and it would have been in their primes, and that's what we would have got there. I think we would have got an unbelievable era of heavyweight boxing. You know, we're moving into a new era now, and you go, where are the characters? Yeah, we've got good fighters like Moses Atauma coming through, but where are the characters? I think we sort of like we have to appreciate.
Never mind the characters. I was still fighting, and that money had to filter down to the lighter.
Yeah, exactly. Then economics. But do you look at this generation of fighters and say, look at the personality? I mean, Wilder was bomb squad, and it was box office when he used to do it. You know, Anthony Joshua was the golden boy of British boxing. Fury was a revelation in terms of charisma, and Usyk just oozes class in terms of the statesman-like approach and brilliance in the ring. Do you worry that we've not got anything to follow that coming forward?
In the heavyweight division, that's why we were talking before about Ben Whittaker. I don't know how far Ben Whittaker's going to go, but because of that razzmatazz and that personality, you kind of jump on it a little bit because that's the guy that is going to transcend into that commercial sector and that mainstream sector, whereas the heavyweight lads, they've got supreme talent. Most of the time it could be an all-time generational great. But does he have that thing that really connects with the person at home? I don't know.
Yeah.
This is why we should appreciate, I always say it about him, and I'm not kissing his ass, but we should appreciate Nazi Mamet so much for what he did.
But guys, also...
we won't see another one like him. We are seeing versions of, and people trying it, and people failing miserably. Some people try it and they get close, and Ben Whittaker might be one that might get close. But his ability in the ring and his ability outside the ring were unquestionable.
We talk about Moses Atauma here, and does he have that ability to transcend? It's not just about that; it's about the dance partners. Where are they? That's what I'm saying. We had an era here.
That's my next question to wrap up this show. We've got a roster of fighters with Atauma in Daniel Dubois still because of the age that he's at and the belief that he'll come again. Yeah. Fabio Wardley, Ajit Kabiel. Do we think that we are likely in the heavyweight division, just confined it to the heavyweights, to see the kind of performances and the kind of intrigue that we've been fortunate enough to see over the certainly last half a decade?
I think we got some great fights there with some great fighters. But are they the characters? Because I think that's...
Just confine it to the fights.
The fights are great fights. I think you put Kabiel in there, you put Moses Atauma in there, you look at those guys, Fabio Wardley, the toughness of him. I think there's a nice blend, a nice mix there. So the answer is yes, I think we've got the fighters there.
Yeah. Cool. So I was going to say, I'm thinking now of matchups. If you were to make a Wardley-Dubois fight, then you probably that would get people excited.
Absolutely.
You look at Moses Atauma and what he can offer against anybody.
Kabiel I like a lot as well.
Massively. Kabiel, I mean, there's obviously Bekir Jalilov, who's a fantastic
we've
fighter.
On Jalilov before. He's a good fighter.
He's a very, very good fighter, southpaw.
The whole point in all of these fights, though, is we've got more chance of them happening now than we have in 5 years if the money closes down and dries up, or we did 10 years ago before the money, which is what we were obviously debating earlier. We've got more chance of seeing these fights happen if the promoters are willing to work together. Because listen, let's not forget how it was just before Turki Al-Sheikh got involved in boxing. Yeah. They hated each other. They wouldn't work with each other. They wouldn't speak with each other. They were messing around about getting a pass into the ring on certain shows when they were on each other's shows. Yeah. So it's a lot better than it was then now.
Agree.